Hi everyone, and welcome to Truth, Health, and Wellness with Matt and Deborah St. John from St. John's Nutrition. Welcome back again this week, guys.
Thanks.
It's awesome to be here.
Well, so how's your week been? Anything that you guys have seen that everybody out there is going to want to know about?
It's been busy. It's been a wild week. I think a lot of people are getting sick from a variety of things. A lot of people are preparing for the holidays, so they're looking into a lot of preventatives and things that they can do to prevent sickness and all the viral issues that are out there and so forth. So there's a lot going on right now and a lot of need. Of course, there's also a lot of need for people as far as their mental state, their psychological benefit, and so many people are dealing with seasonal depression and other aspects of life that, believe it or not, there are things that they can be doing, supplement-wise and naturally that can help them.
Well, what do you have, like supplement-wise, for moods and things like that for people that are going through depression and things dealing with the holidays?
Well, I remember I went to Tommy Bass, who is a mentor of mine, and I told him that a lot of people are depressed and that we needed something. And of course, the word depression never really came from him. It was more like people who are down on life or had situational stresses, and it wasn't as big of a thing 30 years ago when I got into this. But now there's just such a need for it, and they're protein deficient. They need nutrition. Even just magnesium deficiency can lead to a lot of cases of depression and problems. So making sure that people have those nutritional deficiencies met and made up for, and being able to look into their lives and their diet to be able to see what's what. But then we also have a lot of plant medicine. There's a lot of natural herbs. A lot of people know of St. John's wort. It's not the one on my hand. It's the one, it's a plant that's been named that for a long time. And things like that have had studies for mild to moderate depression. I remember Newsweek magazine, they had an article about St. John's wort being so amazing, and I remember how busy we got because people actually thought that we had something to do with that plant.
Oh, how funny!
Yeah, a little old lady from Atlanta wanted to invest in us. I should have taken her money, but anyway, that's another story. But yeah, but not only St. John's wort, but making sure that it's combined with synergistic herbs that can, like a kava, and we have a formula called Happy Now that's really good. Happy Now is awesome.
It's really good.
Yeah, we made it better about 8 years ago when I had a pastor friend who I had put on lobelia, which is mainly a pulmonary herb. It's something that's really good as an expectorant to help kind of cleanse the lungs. And Native Americans used it a lot. And so he kept telling me, he says, I feel so much better ever since using the lobelia. And I said, well, that's great. I'm glad that you feel better. I thought, of course, it was in his head, and which no pun intended. So a little bit later, he'd call me again, and he'd be like, man, I'm telling you, this lobelia is making me feel a lot better. And I'd be like, well, that's great, whatever. So finally he calls me, and he says, I'm up on my roof. I'm like, you're where? He says, I'm up on my roof hanging Christmas decorations. I said, well, Ken, you're actually afraid of heights. And he's like, no, I'm not anymore. I'm telling you, he's standing on his rooftop.
Wow.
I'm telling you from our rooftop while hanging Christmas decorations that lobelia is amazing. So we looked into it, and I think I got an herb book from 1860 that actually had a good article on lobelia, or lobeline, the active ingredient, being useful for depression and for anxiety. And so we looked into that. We added it to our formula, and it became just a home run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Called Happy Now. It's a great formula. A lot of people take it.
Wow. Well, for everyone out there, we are live, so please don't forget, there should be a phone number popping up any minute on your screen, as well as if you're on Facebook, or you can go onto Facebook, please email, text in your questions right now, or call that number on your screen, and we will ask live on there your questions to Matt and Deborah and see if we can get you some answers or some help with some stuff, and especially like Happy Now. All of this, most of the stuff they may have at their shop. If they don't, they can tell you how to get it or whatnot. They may not be able to give you complete answers because it just may not fit, but they will do the very best that they can. So definitely call in and email in, Facebook message your questions.
Yeah, we have a lot of great help. I think our combined experience in this field is 120 years. Which mainly is because most of us are ancient. I have 11 years on her, but you being an RN, she's a fast learner also. She knows more about Amazon medicine now than I do, just because we've been in the Amazon so much. So it's really exciting to see, the quality of help that we're able to offer people. And we have young couples, we have older couples. A lot of people are volunteering, and it's really just awesome how. When people call and people come by, we're hopefully able to help everyone to some degree, and if not, then we'll just pray for you, and we do that for free, of course.
Well, I've got someone that's asking how many on the Happy Nows. How does that work? How many of those do you take? What does that look like?
Happy Now is actually designed to be a formula that you take one capsule twice a day. Now, some people, if they're having an event, maybe a loss of a loved one or something serious, they'll end up taking more sometimes. But generally, it's designed to be taken at just 2 a day.
Does it have to be taken with a meal, without a meal?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No, most people like to take, especially when they first start taking botanical medicine, taking it before a meal. That helps with the assimilation. It also helps with digestion and to make sure that they don't have it just in their throat and belching it and whatnot. So we want to make sure that people get the pills down. For myself, I know that I'll drink water. Sometimes I'll add a little hot tea. But hey, a few pieces of banana actually is a great way. Throw it down and get everything down.
It seems to work a little stronger on an empty stomach, though.
It does, and there are some formulations, especially those that are really intended to help with peace of mind or with the mind, like things like antiparasitics. Those types of formulas are better on an empty stomach. So it really just depends on the person and how well they're acclimated to taking natural medicine to begin with.
Okay, and since you mentioned tea, is there, and with Christmas and the cooler weather coming up, are there any teas that you would recommend people actually drink that are healthier and better for them than?
Yeah, we have immune system teas that are really good. We have combination teas that'll have echinacea along with golden seal. They have echinacea along with, even just a Earl Grey or some natural forms of caffeine to help it sort of work faster. There are a lot of teas: hibiscus, ginseng,
Mullein. People really like mullein this time of year.
What does that do? Something specific for you?
Yeah, it's just really good for the immune system, for the sinuses. It helps people in the cold season, to feel better.
It works on the lungs, and one of the things that happens to a lot of people, they're exposed to the cold, and the cold, yeah, it's bad for you, but then they also then jump into the heat. And then a lot of times, for example, gas heat is very drying, and so the mucous membrane will end up dried out. And it's not really that the cold is making you sick, it's that the mucous membrane being dried out, it makes it more prone to inflammation, and when it's inflamed, that leaves you more susceptible to having a virus attack or a bacterial attack. And so it makes people more able to get sick. One of the worst things people can do, though, is to have a home or their vehicle or whatnot too hot. And if things are too hot, that's a breeding ground for bacterium. I've gone into hospital rooms before where people had it up to like 82 degrees, and I'm sitting there thinking, I think they're actually possibly trying to kill these people in some cases. That's one of the reasons that bacterial pneumonia is so significant in hospitals, is because of the heat. I know one of the best things people can do is throw like a blanket or a towel over the heater in these places. Be careful, don't burn your room down. Don't burn the hospital down. Matt St. John said to burn the hospital down. No, we don't dislike them that much, but it's important, to be able to make sure not to get too hot. Don't get your rooms too hot. Don't get too cold at the same time. Just use common sense. Do the Alabama layering. I'm wearing a polo shirt, but there's like a rabbit fur coat over here that, now it's vintage. I didn't kill the rabbits.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, Elsie wants to know, is Happy Now also good for anxiety?
Most of the people most depression stems from anxiety. Most people who are anxious, that stems from fear. And so, not to get too deep and get in your heads and stuff, but the thing is that when we have anxiety, and prolonged anxiety, it tends to make us depressed. And there's not a lot of mercy or pity, more now than ever, but people don't really understand anxiety and how significant that is and how much of a role that plays. But once again, it all comes down to fear. And that's one of the reasons that we added that lobelia to the Happy Now, is because what I kept reading in the old herbal text was that it was used by the Cherokee to help with fear. They would even smoke it. Matter of fact, they would smoke it in alternation of tobacco because it helped so much with pulmonary issues. So this is actually something they would smoke to cleanse the lungs. Now, I'm not advocating people smoke anything, but at the same time, lobelia, used as an expectorant, was also used as something that helped with fear and therefore also, helping with anxiety.
Okay.
Pretty cool. I mean, it's neat to look back 200, 300 years sometimes and to know, hey, they were stressed out too. Now, they weren't worried about their car payments. They were worried about being sold into slavery or something, but at the same time, or sold to a sharecropper or whatnot. But people have had stress throughout the history of time. Christ had a lot of stress in his life there toward the end too.
Well, definitely on that. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see some of the other questions here. How about, I was a smoker for many, many years, have recently quit. Is there anything I can do to help restore my lungs, since we were mentioning lungs a minute ago?
Absolutely. I know a smoker. I know someone who smoked for a while. Also drank Diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, they were a sad case when I met them. Anyway, but wonderful. And but no, one of the things, our lungs are very resilient, and our lungs are big organs, and so we can rest assured that no matter how much we've smoked or how much damage we've done, there's always something that can help. And things like mullein, like you mentioned, and lobelia, like I mentioned, those are pulmonary support herbs that can help with the mucilage in the lungs and also help heal. I know that when I had bacterial pneumonia one time because I was stubborn and ignorant, and I just kept letting it get worse. And so a doctor, I forget his name actually, but he came in. I was kind of delirious because I had bacterial pneumonia, and I had a 104-degree temperature. So he went back. I was laying on the couch. He said, "You don't look like much of a naturopathic doctor to me." And I said, "Yeah, I'm sick. Shut up." And so he said, "Well, you need to come to my office." And so I went to his office. He gave me 6 cc's of injectable antibiotics and whatnot. It about took my breath from me when he gave it to me. But he said, "You know, you have this scar tissue in your left lung. It's going to be permanent, and every time that you get an X-ray, they're going to think that you have lung cancer."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he says, "Don't discount that you could possibly have lung cancer in the future, but you're probably going to be just dealing with that scar tissue." Well, what's neat is I had an X-ray, maybe 4 months ago or something, and they looked at my lungs and they're like, "Your lungs are completely clear." And I said, "What about the scar tissue?" They said, "There is no scar tissue."
Wow.
There you go. And we've been doing lobelia. We've been taking lobelia and several other things for a few years now, so no more scar tissue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, with the lungs, and when you did mention pneumonia, I believe I saw you guys may have posted something on your site the other day as well with what's going on about, is it the white lung of everything coming from China right now, supposedly? What about that?
Well, there's a special form of bacterial or antibiotic resistant pneumonia that's coming out of China. Now the cool thing is that I went through and I started looking at every single ingredient of our P77, which is Artemisia, it's carvacrol from the oregano oil, it's beta-pinene, and it's hemp seed oil. And I thought, surely not, yeah, surely not, but Shirley was right. And so literally every single constituent in the P77 had scientific validation and studies showing efficacy for this type of pneumonia. Yet they're saying it's antibiotic resistant, but it's not P77 resistant.
Yeah.
So we put all that data up on the St. John's page, and I'd invite anybody that could get on Facebook. A lot of people who are watching this are watching it via Facebook, to like our page and to go in and look at some of these articles and studies. We don't tell anything but the truth, and even if the truth hurts, we tell it. That gets us in a little trouble sometimes, but it's really neat to be able to look at these studies, because while the United States and while government agencies may not care about health or human lives, there are countries and people and entities that do care. So the studies might come out of Madagascar, they might come out of Africa, they might come out of Russia. Bad Russia, right? But no, the scientists in Russia are great. And so when you see these studies in these other countries, like the German E-Commission, which revolutionized the natural products industry, it made the drug companies start actually purchasing up the dietary supplement industry, because they realized we can't beat them, let's buy them.
Yeah.
Because there were 630 monographs showing efficacy of these natural plants, that the drug companies, ever since we had Rockefeller Medicine and taking over our health care, they were told, oh, these are not effective, they're dangerous, they're unsafe, and they don't work. And so all of a sudden the German E-Commission publishes all these monographs saying, hey, they do work. Whoops. Yeah. So it sent the companies scurrying to try, literally, ever since they've been buying up the natural products industry. So these things do work, and there is efficacy, and we do have studies. They're just all over the globe.
Yeah. Well, with that and how it would tie kind of back into COVID as well, what about people with the holidays coming up, being around other people, they're sick or they have COVID or been around somebody with COVID, or whether it be COVID or something else? What's the best way for them to protect themselves, and what would you recommend people doing?
Well, we have a protocol that we started basically when COVID came out. That is it's a group of products. Our P77 is basically the main product, and then our elderberry syrup, Doctor's Immune Forte, which is it's an immune formula that has mushrooms and some other botanicals, and then vitamin C with zinc and D3. And
that has kept so many people. We stopped counting at 550,000. But we had 550,000 people use this protocol, and none of those people contracted COVID. And we also haven't lost a single person to COVID that's used it proactively, after being diagnosed. And we were smuggling into the hospitals. There were people that were using it left and right. We have a back door that is just for the doctors' wives who aren't supposed to be seen coming in our front door.
Right.
But if your doctor doesn't support us, then their wife probably does, or their husband. So we actually have a lot of doctor spouses, whether it be male or female, who are constantly dealing with us in the family. And once again, we have a lot of doctors who are using us. We were part of the Concerned Doctors group, and we did a few webinars with them about just the P77, and they were really intrigued about the Artemisia, and especially the studies coming back from Madagascar. Madagascar had a 1% vaccine rate. In other words, only 1% of the entire country was vaccinated, yet they eradicated COVID, and they did it extremely effectively. Now Israel had a 100% COVID vaccination rate, yet they still have COVID, and they've had every strain, and they've had multiple deaths, way worse than Madagascar, even though Madagascar has 27 million versus their 9 million. So it's mind-blowing to look at the data, and it's really interesting to see how antiparasitics and things that supported the immune system were always effective against COVID-19 and still are. COVID-19 is a virus, it's a real virus. No, it's not just the flu, even though there may be flus that are diagnosed as COVID and vice versa. But at the same time, there are people who are like deniers of COVID-19. We've seen COVID-19. I've had all three variants. I intentionally got them. That's a long story, but still, I mean, there's a point to understanding that COVID is real, and that there are things that you can do to prevent COVID. And we've already seen that the studies have come back on the mask. They're not effective. Now, if you're sick and you're going out in the public, sure, put a mask on. That way we can tell that you're sick, for one thing, but the other thing is that it does help, keep the sickness in you. It also keeps you sick, but that's another story. Okay. But at the same time, when we look at what really did work against COVID, they were the antiparasitics, they were the immune builders, even things like elderberry. I remember we got attacked for recommending elderberry, and there was actually a registered nurse or a nurse practitioner up in Canada who came up with this webinar, basically, or this whatever you call them, some Facebook thing, and she said that that there was going to be this systemic, what was it she was calling it? Cytokine storm. Yeah. And so the cytokine storm was going to basically just kill everyone who took the elderberry, and then it was going to be a mass deaths. Well, guess what? Everyone who took elderberry did fine. They did wonderful, including myself. And there wasn't this cytokine storm. So it's important to not listen to bad information, misinformation. Look at studies, because now, like I said, we have plenty of studies that support it, and then talk to someone who actually knows and or someone who's actually healthy. Another thing I can't get over is how many people listen to unhealthy people about their health. If I was driving up to the financial advisor and they were in a 1972 Pinto, I knew that they had 3 bankruptcies and they lived in a home that was falling apart. Their dog didn't even like them. They were triple divorced and they had no money in the bank account. Would you take sound financial advice from them? Well, the same thing is the case with people who are healthcare practitioners. They can't even see when they go to the bathroom. They have to, it's a long story, but they're just so unhealthy. They're a natural disaster, and yet you're going to go listen to them about healthcare. It's insanity. I don't understand it.
Well, when you mentioned a pet in that one, and the some of the stuff we just talked about with COVID, it makes me question. I think you guys actually have products for pets, right? What about, because of Christmas and everything, what if our pets are getting a little too cold outside? We bring them, back inside. They've got sniffles or something, or what are you seeing with pets, and what would you recommend? Do you have stuff?
Well, our P77 is actually really good for pets. We have used it with Cookie several times. Some of the people that help us at our shop use it with their animals. She, every now and then, she actually got COVID once.
This is a dog, right?
Yeah, she's our little dog, and she caught COVID from a kid at our kid's school, and
we blame him. Way to go, Blake. Anyway, that's another story. He got the whole school sick and our dog, but that's another story. But yeah, she actually got sick, and we just give her a drop about twice a day. And you have to be careful. I mean, she's just a 9-pound dog. But it's amazing to see how herbs and botanicals can work for pets, and it's really neat to see their little immune systems get. Also, CBD oil.
Absolutely.
Just giving dogs CBD oil is amazing to help with their immune systems and their longevity. We've heard of dogs that were on death's door. I mean, the poor little things, and cats too. They were just
arthritic, couldn't move well.
They were going to put them down, and we're like, well, try some CBD oil, and they'd come back and be like, I can't believe my dog now or my cat now.
Cats,
you get another 3 or 4 years out of those precious little creatures, and it's amazing. Just think that something so natural and so simple. I'm not talking about THC. That's a whole different deal. The Delta 9s don't give to your dog. It's not good for them, and plus, they go in outer space. They might bite you. But the CBD is wonderful, especially for longevity. It's really cool.
Well, and someone's asking why Cookie's not on the show. I think in the future
we might have to bring her next week.
She's out in the van, very unhappy that we're in here.
She wishes she was here.
Okay, it's a done deal. We'll do it.
But that is something with Christmas and everybody's pets. They're family,
Absolutely.
So, but I tell you. Let's go to another question here. I recently heard that hormone replacement therapy is tied to an increased risk for ovarian cancer. Is that true?
Well, it's a matter of a balance of estrogen. When you start, I call it trying to use a sniper rifle to take out an army, and that's not a very practical way. So if you're dealing with hormonal imbalance all the way around, and someone's, say they're premenopausal or menopausal, and you just start saying, okay, we're just going to put you on a high dose of estrogen, we're just going to put you on a high dose of progesterone, we're going to put you on a high dose of testosterone, please don't, you get a mustache. But there's so many different things that they do in endocrinology where they just don't understand. Even thyroid. I had someone in today, they would put on T4 thyroid, which is all they ever recommend, Synthroid. Well, T4 thyroid will not convert to T3 thyroid. There's two thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. If you just get on the T4, well, guess what? You're never going to be anything but a little bit better. You feel a little bit better, so you keep taking it. 5 years later, well, if I quit taking it, I'll feel a little bit worse. But the thing is, if they were just to prescribe T3, which is cytomel, they would feel a lot better because the T3 will convert to T4. So, but I don't know why endocrinologists do this. Some people think it's some conspiracy theory. I think it's just ignorance. I think maybe the drug reps for T4, I mean, seriously, both are really old medicines. But glandular thyroid is available at St. John's. We have glandular thyroid, which is the same thing as Armour thyroid, and it's a balance between the T3 and the T4 hormones. We like to use the plants because God didn't make mistakes. God made a plant for every problem that we have, a plant or an animal. And so we use animal medicine too. That's another story. That's some of that Peruvian stuff that we'll talk about, or talk about later. But when it comes to things like, we have a product called Ladies Balance, and it uses like squaw vine, black cohosh, and other botanicals that I forget right now because I need my brain fog. But these formulas are really good at helping to balance hormones, but not giving you so much estrogen or so much progesterone or so much pregnenolone that you're getting, once again, the sniper rifle trying to take out the army. Balance your hormones means to have balance. And to do that, normally you need to use a full spectrum of ingredients and a full spectrum of plants, and that normally makes a big difference.
Well, you mentioned brain fog in there, and someone had asked, did I hear you say that drinking ginkgo biloba would help with memory functions as we grow older? How does that work?
Ginkgo biloba is a neat plant. What's cool is that ginkgo biloba is one of the oldest plants, if not the oldest plant ever known in history. Now, what do we think of when we think of old and old age? We think of wisdom. Well, what do we think of when we think of wisdom? We think of increased brain capacity or increased brain function. And so ginkgo is really helpful, especially for older people, to help promote circulation to the appendages. And so when you're talking about circulation to the appendages, we mean every appendage. And so everything that you have that's an appendage, and also your brain, helps with the flow of blood, and it helps with memory enhancement because of that, increase in blood flow. Everyone knows that if your circulation is better, your function is better. So ginkgo mainly helps through that. Now there are other things like L-theanine, L-tyrosine, L-glutamine. Those are amino acids. Well, that goes back to us talking about protein and the importance of protein. Making sure that someone's not protein deficient can help tremendously in how their brain functions. We have another product called Brain Fog, and that's a really wild one. We developed it for post-COVID brain or COVID or post-COVID brain fog. That's turned into our best memory support formula, and it uses a tamarind that we talked about, I think, on every episode. So we won't go into tamarind again, but it's a really neat formula to help with memory. Most people have tried ginkgo biloba, and a lot of people who've tried ginkgo biloba have had poor results because they get ginkgo biloba at Walmart or Rite Aid, and of course it's low quality and it's not very good quality. It doesn't work well in their bodies. So it really helps to make sure you're taking a really good product, and normally a combination product that has a full spectrum of constituents.
With that though, what between ginkgo biloba and P77, is there a better product over one or the other?
Well, it's really two, like the ginkgo or the brain fog.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Brain fog.
Yeah.
Apparently, I didn't take that this morning. Forgot it. I'm sorry.
The brain fog helps a lot if you remember to take it. I, for real, have a problem taking brain fog because I can't remember to take it. That's when she helps a lot in that area. But brain fog is a newer formula. It works by helping with the cerebrospinal fluid inflammation that a lot of people have, especially after COVID and because of the vaccines and all this. But that makes a big difference in reducing the inflammation in the brain. Also, tamarind's been shown to actually defluoride or decalcify the pineal gland. The pineal gland is extremely important. Not as much for memory, but as much for in hearing and being able to, they call it your third eye, but basically to Socrates, like I said in 1560, said that it was your connection to God or the seat of the soul. And people who have pineal glands that are calcified, and normally through fluoridation, I invite anybody actually, type in tamarind and the pineal gland. and look at the studies, the clinical studies, and you're going to go down a rabbit hole that you're going to either regret that I ever told you about or love that I told you about. But you're going to learn so much about the pineal gland just by tapping in tamarind and the pineal gland and looking at the studies and the research, and look at what the researchers, the people in the studies are saying. You know, all these years I had people coming to me and said, oh, they're putting fluoride in the water, they're trying to kill us. And I'm like, that's ridiculous, you right-wing extremist or left-wing extremist. Which is it now? What? Who knows? It's all the same. So it's like, you know, I'm thinking that they're just radicals and that they're, you know, absolutely just overstating. Well, come to find out, they were all right, of course, and that the fluoride use has been causing this calcification of the pineal gland. It's been causing a lot of people to be really crusty in one form or another.
Well, one more quick question. We only have a couple of minutes left here. What would you recommend for someone who is having trouble conceiving, yet all the test results are coming back normal?
You're good at this.
I'm good at helping people conceive
Yes,
children.
very.
I'll never forget there was a lady one time at a Kroger, and she walked up to me, and she was right there in the middle of everything. It was in the lobby, and she had a stroller. And she said, "This man's responsible for this child."
What?
And I said, I had nothing to do with this. And it was what she was talking about was, she had came to me and she's like, what can I do to help conceive? And I said, well, it's interesting what a simple herb called Damiana can do. And I said, but no matter how much I figured there's a male involved, feels like they're okay, they need to probably increase start taking something called L-arginine. L-arginine is a really neat amino acid, not a mean old acid, but amino acid, one of the building blocks of protein, that is really good at helping not only with nitric oxide production, but also in helping men increase their sperm count. What a way to end the show. So by doing that, it gives them, I don't know, more chances to win, I guess. And so if the Damiana is being taken, it helps with egg motility, and also turn around and you increase your, I don't know, chances of winning, then you're normally going to win.
Having a Merry Christmas. That's what since it's going for Christmas, right? So.
Exactly. Merry Christmas. Happy. I was born in September. I was a New Year's baby. Anyway, that's hard. Sorry, Mom. I already talked about the bath last time, and now I'm talking about conception. So
we're gonna make that a weekly thing. It has to have something about your mom in here, right?
Yes, let's do that.
Maybe one day she'll come on and join us for that.
No, she's not happy right now.
Well, is there anything else you want to leave the viewers with? We've got about a minute left, probably.
Well, we invite people to come out to us at St. John's. Today was a very wild and hectic day, and another thing too is that, you know, when you go on our Facebook page, I might have 6 messages to answer right now. Go on our Facebook page and ask us questions. Just send a message. Myself or David or someone that's highly qualified will be there to help, and we answer at all times of the day, night, morning. It's ridiculous, really, but it's a way for us to interact with our people. It's very personal, but at the same time, that's what we're about. I mean, we don't close. We're there all the time. If you can wake us up with a bling on your cell phone, then we'll get up and answer the question. Now, you might have to have it deciphered, and we have to answer you again, and later in the morning. But it makes a difference to have that contact, and we appreciate people who value our opinion and people who reach out to us.
Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and don't forget, send in your questions, send them to them, or you can comment on today's show, and next week we'll be back same place, same time, 7 p.m. live, where they'll take your questions live via Facebook or via phone. We want to thank you again for joining us, and you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.